Hey YouTube, welcome back to a brand new Animal Crossing New Horizons video. Today we're doing something a little different and taking a look at how New Horizons villages were created as demonstrated by the developers at a recent game conference. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. So just a few days ago, some of the Animal Crossing New Horizons developers attended the CEDEC 2020 Game Developers Conference in Japan and held various sessions discussing key development aspects of New Horizons. One aspect in particular was how the animals evolved through the years and how they would change for New Horizons to make them more lovable and aesthetically pleasing, as well as more approachable and easy to identify with. Now, the developers began by reiterating there are of course around 400 different animals in New Horizons and the importance of each one being unique to the players. Essentially separating all the animals from each other so they become important to the player, so they want to see them around the island and of course want to engage with them throughout the game. Lead characters designer Asako Shibata highlighted how the characters were to evolve from the 3DS days to the Switch days relies on two key aspects. First, including how the character appears aesthetically so they can be empathized with, and second, their behaviour to make them more interactive and more lively around the island. Now, when starting out the design process or the upgrade from their previous looks, the developers begin with a silhouette that could be recognised no matter whereabouts they are. As you can see, this is clearly a cat silhouette, so there's no surprise here, and sets up the designer with a blank canvas so many cats can be imagined during the design process. It was said that it's easier to design a unique cat character by suggesting personality traits and hobbies rather than being limited to actual features, hence the basic silhouette. Now, one example given was if fluffy cheeks were an attribute from the start, it would be hard to imagine multiple cat characteristics, but sticking with the identifiable silhouette removes any limitations and allows for endless designs. It's pretty clever thinking. Now, using this technique, Animal Crossing characters can be created with different textures based on a common, recognisable appearance, the cat silhouette, which of course makes it easier to see what species they are, whilst also giving enough scope to widen their individuality. This screenshot shows a variety of different types of real-world cats, such as Calico, Himalayan, and Siamese, as well as other familiar appearances such as kabuki makeups, and of course an orange for some reason. As you can see here, they're all clearly cats, but all derived from a single silhouette, which is really awesome. Furthermore, the designer went on to say with 35 different species in New Horizons, to reach these types of appearances and to separate one species from another, even looking at differences amongst humans, helped create a diverse range of characters. Basically by assigning different size and shapes to different species, so each are recognisable in their own way. Now, despite them all being so different on the surface, the designer highlighted the importance to keep a unified expression across all animals and players, whether it's emotions or actions, so it's easy for the player to empathise with them. So if you as a player and Bob both look happy, it's obvious and you're able to relate, which of course makes it an immersive and relatable gaming experience. Now, moving on, the character's designer began to talk about the individual details for each villager, and it seems to begin with this amazing screenshot showing off various characters drawn in a variety of art styles just to see what they look like. As you can see, there's some cartoony ones in the bottom left, some classic Bugs Bunny style ones in the centre, as well as the traditional ones we're more familiar with at the top. As I understand it, this was more of a brainstorm and part of the design process to filter out the types of details that should be included in the New Horizons characters, so not to make them too detailed or take away from the traditional cute Animal Crossing appeal we all know and love. For example, here is the screenshot showing the basic level of detail, just take note of the eyes. Next is this screenshot that, as you can see, shows something as small as eye highlights is said may be too much and may take away from their personality. This is of course different from each animal and shows how every single villager is also designed with their personality in mind rather than limitations with features. As you can see here, some cubs have eye highlights and some don't. The designer's message here is that if you add unnecessary detail, like for example adding highlights to the ones on the right, you could remove individuality. Now moving on, the designers wrapped up this segment by speaking about the second key aspect, which is the behaviour of the animals and how they aim to make them more approachable and lively. Essentially, the designers questioned how animals would actually live alongside you, so not to make them like robots who are just performing tasks randomly. Now they defined the behaviours in 3 groups, including typical animal-like behaviour, being able to make decisions on the spot, and of course behaviour that doesn't appear random. Based on this definition, every single animal has 2 actions, which include doing something alone and finding something. Just like human behaviour, the doing something alone action includes things like reading, cleaning or fishing, whereas the finding something action includes things such as spotting a butterfly flying past or walking past an interactive item and using it. This, together with the in-between moments where animals are stood there thinking, as well as changing their clothes and accessories according to their current action, makes the villagers come across more lively and like they're actual residents of the island rather than robot NPCs who just perform random tasks one after another, in a strange way making them more human. With this all in mind, the designers suggest that from how the characters in New Horizons look from afar to how they interact when you're just walking by helps players want to interact with villagers, which will assist in making memories and creating a relationship where the animals become important to the player. So in short, the developers were showing this creative roadmap from old to new characters helps keep us playing, and of course explains why the rude, grumpy and somewhat offensive villagers we used to know no longer exist in the Animal Crossing universe. Instead, they act like more playable characters and they're more approachable and relatable. So there we have it, that pretty much wraps up this video about how the characters were designed from how they're drawn and how they're portrayed to how they act when we're not even around. Of course, this video was based on Nintendo's session at CEDEC 2020, so I'd like to thank them as well as the media outlets who covered the conference. All the articles are linked below, so be sure to check them out if you want to find out even more. Anyway, for now that pretty much wraps up this video. If you're an Animal Crossing fan, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any New Horizons news. Until then, I'd like to give a special thank you to this channel's Patreon supporters, as well as this channel's members. You guys absolutely rock and truly help me upload as regularly as I do. I literally couldn't do it without you. Don't forget to head over to our Discord server too, and of course, if you made it to the end of the video, please comment villagers, just to let me know you did. That would be super awesome, and please be sure to include what type of animal you would add to New Horizons if you could add any species you wanted. I'd love to know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it entertaining. Please be sure to leave a like if you did. Thanks for watching, I hope you have an amazing day, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.